All right, guys, it has been a week. The jury has been selected. Since the last time I recorded a video, we said the jury would be selected in 7 days. They managed to narrow down the jury to 13 men and 2 women in 2 days. Only 2 days it took. And Lori Vallow was a part of the process. So I saw this interview she just put out. This kind of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Jodi Arias case, reminded me of that, where Jodi Arias basically butchered her ex-boyfriend and went on a little bit of a media tour before she actually went to trial. And also she gave another press interview right after she was found guilty. So Lori, in my opinion, is a narcissist, and she's just going to use every advantage or every opportunity she can to get on a soapbox. I mean, that would be very much in line with how she's gotten to even be in this position was through her outlandish cult beliefs. And having these really extreme beliefs, I feel, is playing into the way she's acting right now. But let's go ahead and watch the interview. I have watched it a couple of times, and we're going to watch it again. And so let's get started.
Hi, Lori.
See?
Yeah.
Can I put this paper on here? Will it be kind of on the...
There's like this really weird yell in the background. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but that was weird. I guess they're in the prison. Somebody was yelling in the background.
Yep. Totally fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd like be on camera. My handwriting's really
No, you're
sloppy.
good.
We're rolling.
I've been so curious to talk to you for a long time. First and foremost, I want to ask you, why did you decide to represent yourself at this trial?
There's lots of reasons. Obviously, being pro per is not an easy job. I'm not an attorney. I don't have training to be an attorney. There's something that I figured out when I got to this jail. You know, this experience has been 5 years running, okay? I went through a whole trial, you know, before in my other state, and then I was brought here to Arizona to face some more serious charges. And I
really wish, if you guys are a body language like enthusiast like I am, I was trying to read her body language. To me, she is embodying, no pun intended, someone that is very sure or confident. To me, she's using the full tone and influx of her voice, meaning that she is believing in these statements she's giving. In my opinion, it looks like everything she's saying she really believes, which I feel is really kind of a coping mechanism. I'm like, after watching her videos a few times and her being in a seemingly not nervous state, I mean, she's already been convicted, so what's the worst could happen at this trial, right? Like, she knows she's not going to be found innocent, in my opinion, and so she's just going to use this opportunity as a soapbox.
came here with the intention of having a speedy trial.
But she seems like a otherwise normal person, which to me speaks to her really believing her lies, her own lies. She's starting to tell herself something over and over and over and over. So she really, really believes these. I mean, she was taken down the road before where she hooked up with her now husband, who was a cult leader. And, you know, after a few months or however long they were together, she ends up unaliving her own children. So I think that she's probably had time to process what she did, but at this point it's too late. She can't admit that, you know, what she did was wrong. So she much rather just keep going down that path. And if the path was she never believed she was wrong in the first place, she's going to tell herself that, which I think she's also showing a little bit of symptoms of disassociation at this point.
Right? I wanted to these charges came first, right? So they're like 5 years old. So I, first talked to the attorneys. I was like, they've had 5 years, the prosecutors, to put their case together, and I really want to go to trial. Like, we need to go. So I'm in a max pod, with the max women, and there's about 8 women in my pod facing death penalty. And I was facing the death penalty in Idaho. I was the only one in that jail because it was a very small town and a small jail. But here, these women have been waiting.
And even though, okay, so I am no body language expert, but I'm very, very interested in that sort of thing. And I hope a body language video YouTuber does kind of analyze her, because one thing that just kind of clicked to me is that a lot of expression is shown in the eyebrows. And she, for the most part, seems to be a little bit in a positive attitude. But if you look at her eyebrows are just like scrunched up. So, which speaks that she's mad. She's a little bit angry that she has to go through this. But she's, so again, she probably does believe in her own innocence in this case in particular. This case is only trying her for the husband, her last husband, that was shot to death, not by her directly, by her brother, but the trial is going to show that she was involved in coercing her brother to do this. So,
waiting for their trials for 5, 6, 7, 8 years to go to trial in a jail. Okay. And then during this experience, I've been in 4 different facilities during this experience, right? Because I've been shuffled all over the country, right? Came from Hawaii to Idaho to Boise, back and forth. So I've experienced 5 different facilities now. This is the 5th facility I've been in, and it is the worst.
What exactly about the conditions bothers you the most? Because, everyone's going to say, what did you expect? You've been convicted of multiple murders. So what were you expecting in this jail?
Well, the people that are in this jail haven't been convicted of anything, that are in the same exact situation as I am. They're innocent. They're innocent right now, and they've been here for 5, 6, 7, 8 years eating slop. Every day, the same thing, every single day, not going out in the sunshine, not having proper medical care, not having proper...
So I would say, in my humble opinion, she's deflecting. She is, I wish the reporter was a little bit more hard on her. She seems to be guiding this interview, because after watching this for now the 3rd time, she starts going on, she's noticing injustices. Well, I mean, you're in jail, right? But she's going to go ahead and decide that she's not only fighting for herself, she's fighting for the women that are also locked up in the judicial system. Who knows why she's doing that? And in the beginning, when I said that she reminded me of Jodi Arias did a similar thing, where when she was convicted, she showed T-shirts she had created that said domestic abuse survivor, just like so out of line. Like, you unalived your ex. It was not self-defense, because self-defense is just you actually respond and protect yourself so you don't die. It doesn't mean you go all the way and kill someone. So who knows? I don't know what her self-defense strategy is going to be. I guess we'll see in her opening statement. But right now, the reporter is just kind of letting her go on the soapbox about something that doesn't have anything to do with her trial.
Dental, if something goes wrong with your teeth, you know what the dentist will do from jail? They pull your tooth out. That's it.
So you're fighting for the other inmates here who are waiting for their time in court.
This is what I found out. Arizona, different from other states, and I only know the 2 states because I've only dealt with 2 judicial systems, right, has no intention of giving anybody a speedy trial, even though it's your constitutional federal right, okay? So what I am fighting for these women. I'm fighting for these women and trying to set a precedence here that you can't just leave these women in jail for years, because the conditions at the prison, if you do get convicted, are a million times better than they are at the jail. Jails are not designed. They're not all over the country. Jails are not designed to let you stay long term. The average person in jail goes 3 months. You're in there for 8 years. You've had teeth pulled out all over. You don't have any kind of thing that you need here. So I talked to my attorneys and said, I need to go. And they said, we can't do it, because I agreed with them, right? Because I said, from their professional stand, they want to go to court prepared, right?
Of course.
I'm a hairstylist. I used to charge tons and tons of money in Austin, Texas to do hair. So I'm not going to charge someone $400 to do their hair and let them walk out the door and not let it look good, because that's my reputation. So I talked to my attorneys. I said, I understand where you're coming from. I understand 100%. I don't want to put you in the position where you're saying, I can't do a good job for you. I can't do this for you in this amount of time. But I've been working on my case for 5 years. So I know my case better than an attorney can learn it in 2 years. But here's the thing. When you waive your speedy trial, then they can keep you here as long as they want. There are intelligent, strong, beautiful women in here that have been here for 8 years because of.
So she's not representing herself, so she's going to be found innocent. She's representing herself so she can hurry up and get this over with and just move on with her life, so to speak, in something that's a better facility. That's her end goal. She's already been convicted of unaliving her 2 kids, so she's got a new cause now.
The family tragedies. It's the same like my case. A family tragedy, not a crime.
A family tragedy? Oh, dang, Lori, you are sugarcoating stuff majorly. This was not an accident. These were calculated, crazy family wipeouts for selfish reasons. She did have a lot going for her, like the reporter said in the beginning. She kind of like the Chris Watts case. He had a beautiful wife and 2 kids, and saw a shiny object and threw it all away. And now she wants to say that it was a tragedy. Yes, the kids that they had to be hurt at your hands. It definitely is a tragedy. But you, on the other hand, are the person that's guilty for putting those events in motion. So you need to be accountable for that. And there's no sugarcoating this, okay? I feel like she's one of those people that have charmed her way through life. And that's how a lot of these people that do represent themselves think that they can represent themselves, because they have been able to just flirt with people and say things to tug at their heartstrings, and things seem to just kind of go in their favor. But she's not going to have it that easy, not at this trial.
A family tragedy, and they're waiting and they're facing the death penalty for a family tragedy. I know these women. I talk to them every day. I try to uplift, strengthen, and help women in this jail, and I think that's the purpose why I'm here.
Can you define family tragedy for me?
Yeah.
Obviously, you were convicted of killing your kids. Where does that
Wrongly
disconnect?
convicted.
You believe wrongly convicted?
Absolutely, 100%.
I wish the reporter would have asked her, why do you believe that?
So then how do you address that? You were convicted of it. They're not here. So what happened?
Okay, so they muted it because her attorney doesn't want her to answer this question. So she does have legal counsel.
To your point, you're not an attorney.
Correct.
You know your case, but you're not an attorney.
Correct.
How do you expect this is going to work for you next week and in these months to come, acting as your own lawyer?
I have help. I have a wonderful team that I got to hire, which is great. I have my paralegal, that's wonderful. I have my investigator. I have my advisory council that helps me. I'm just going to do the best that I can. That's all I can do. I'm trying to help the women here. Like, something that happens in Arizona that didn't happen in Idaho, something that's different, is there they really respect your right to a speedy trial. And so I wouldn't waive my speedy trial, and they finally pushed it to trial. It does. The judge does go over, and they, for any reason, they can move your speedy trial out, right? But here, the first time you go to court here, if your attorney stands up for you and says, "Oh, we're going to need more time because you were supposed to go in 4 months." Right? You have a certain amount of time and you're supposed to go in 150 days. And if your attorney says that, it automatically waives your right to a speedy trial. So the women that are here and their attorneys say, "We're going to help you, we're going to put your case together, we're going to do all this stuff," they didn't know the first time that their speedy trial got waived, because they're like me. I mean, I was 46 years old when I got arrested. I've never been arrested before. I didn't know how the judicial system worked. They're in the same boat. So they didn't actually know at the time that they were waiving their speedy trial right.
I've been in the courtroom for some of this, and then I've watched it as well. When you're addressing the judge and the state, you can get a little snappy with them. And I know you're upset with what you feel as witnesses that are being precluded from the trial. What's your biggest complaint? What do you want to see happen? And is that the tone that you want to take throughout this trial?
I don't think that I'm trying to set a tone. That's not my intention, is to set a tone. And I'm not a fighter. Okay, so my whole life I've been a peacemaker. I'm a person that loves everybody. I'm a person that gets along with everybody. I don't like to fight. So this is a challenge for me to even fight for myself, to fight for these women, to kind of stand up for the first time in my life, because I'm kind of been, I'm a people pleaser by nature. And it's been really difficult for me, but there's so many wrongs in the system. There's certain things that your attorneys won't say for you, because here's the problem. Your attorneys, they're professionals, right? So they're colleagues with the prosecutors, they're colleagues with the judges. And I get that, because I've worked in a professional environment, so I get that. You have to be, they argue their points, and then they go out to lunch. Like, I get that, right? I'm not doing that. I'm fighting for my life here, really.
There's this notion from people in the public that feel you're representing yourself because you have nothing to lose, that this is a challenge, kind of a show, a game for you. Do you agree with that?
I never hear any of this stuff because I'm in a room 23 hours a day, and we don't have any access to any kind of news. So, or any kind of anything, really. So I didn't know that people were saying that, but I wouldn't agree with that, obviously.
What's your mindset going into trial? What do you believe now, and how do you feel as we're just a couple days away?
A little bit stressed.
It's a big case.
It's a big case. It's stressful. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of legal things that have to be done. We're working on stuff every day. We're working late into the night. The biggest challenge for me in this trial will be the logistics. I want to be able to go and talk to the people who have stood up and lied about me. I get to face them face to face.
Yeah, so she gets to cross-examine some people that she actually requested to be on the witness stand, and from what I read in an article, her brother will be testifying as well as her sister. I'm not sure which brother this is, because her brother is the one that fired the gun. So I got to find out if he's actually going to go on trial. I know they can bring in people that are also convicted to testify on a case. I'm not sure if he is currently incarcerated. I'll have to find that out. But if it's the same sister, because she's also going to cross-examine her sister, if that's the same sister that called her on the phone, there's a recording of her basically breaking down on why the children were found buried. And she sounds heartbroken that Lori just decided to throw her children away. And that's going to be super emotional. I bet you her sister goes off on her.
I think that's important. So the hardest thing is here, they wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to court every single day. And you sit and you sit and you sit and you wait, but you're woken up and you're transported and you're getting back to the jail at like 5 and 6 o'clock at night. I'm gonna have to prep for the next day for my witnesses. I'm gonna have to meet with people. I'm gonna have to have my paralegal's gonna come over. We're gonna get paperwork ready. We're gonna get our stuff ready for the next day. So the hardest thing it'll be lack of sleep. Nobody does good with lack of sleep.
Are you worried about the legal things you don't know?
Obviously, there's lots of legal things that I don't know. I have been studying. I've been studying a lot the law. I've been studying it for 5 years. I've been talking with attorneys. I had a team of 11 people in Idaho, some really, really smart people. People were brought in all over the country from different states and everything because I was a death penalty case. And so I learned from a lot of people. And I'm a smart person, and I paid attention. I consider myself an intelligent person, like a lot of these other women here in this jail. And we're trying to do the best that we can. I know it's not going to be perfect the way an attorney would do it. So that's when people say, like, she has nothing to lose. Like, I don't necessarily think that I'm going to do a better job than the attorneys can do. That's not my intention. My intention is to say the things that I would say for myself. I mean, I sat there during a whole trial and I discussed a lot of things with my attorneys and asked them to say very specific certain things that were important to me, just as a person, as a human being.
Okay, so I did hear her say this before, that she didn't like that the attorneys at her previous case didn't vocalize some of the comments she, apparently told them to express to the courts. And they probably did that in, good judgment or professional judgment, just to not overlog the court with her frivolous statements that could be used against her. So she seems pretty upset that she wasn't able to express all of her opinions. And so this time she's not gonna let anybody stop her from talking. So I hope it doesn't turn into a Ted Bundy kind of showboat. I don't know. It just seems like she's just gonna use this as a soapbox. And she says it right here. She's mad the attorneys didn't say everything she wanted them to say at the last trial.
These things are important, that you say this for me, and they wouldn't say it. So, and I get the professionalism and I get what they're doing, but sometimes you just have to be able to do it for yourself.
You want to be your own voice.
She doesn't really agree with that statement because her voice like trails off, and that means that she's not real confident in that statement. Plus she shrugs like twice. So that's my little bit of body language knowledge.
Voice.
Yeah.
Going over your case and all of it for years, I mean, it seemed like you had the life that so many wanted in Arizona. You had it all.
I loved our life here. Yeah.
Why are we here? Like, why are we at the place we're at now? You had that life. Why throw it away?
It's tragedy. Families have tragedies. Things happen, and there was a domino effect of tragedies in my life, and that's really sad.
What do you describe that domino effect of what?
It's probably something that we should save for next time.
Greed.
You still believe?
She thought her husband, who got murdered by the hands of her brother, had a life insurance policy, when in fact he didn't. Or I may be thinking that was wrong. I think it was, it was her husband. He started kind of becoming privy to her outlandish thought process, and he had intuition, and 2 months before he gets killed, he changes the beneficiary of the life insurance policy.
Believe in those things of the dark and the light spirits and the zombies. Is that still part of your belief system, or have you changed your beliefs?
Meet your new...
So it gets muted here. I guess her lawyer is speaking and probably advising her not to talk. not to answer that question. Do you still believe in the doomsday theories? I hope they ask for that in trial. I think she does, because what
Do
other
you
choice does
consider
she
you
have?
and Chad still together?
Sure, of course.
Of course they do, because they plotted with this notion that they're going to live forever if they get rid of their family. So she's got to commit to that. She's got to believe that until the day she dies, because otherwise, what did she do this for? What was this all for?
And how was that going to work with you? He's on death row and you are in prison for life. How do you continue that relationship, that marriage?
In the best way that you can, the only way that you can.
What do you
She's holding something back there. She did a lot of eye blocking. I think she's gonna try and break out of jail. Just kidding. She's like, we're gonna break out and be together.
think people have wrong about you?
Pretty much everything.
No, I don't think so. I think we got a lot right about you, lady.
Like what?
Specifically, I don't really know what people think, because I don't have access to the kind of media that you guys are watching all these things. I never get to watch anything. So I hear things from different people. I get text messages from people saying, oh, so-and-so.
How does she get text messages? Does she have a tablet in jail? I heard a lot of these prisoners have tablets now. That's crazy.
And such and such. And I'm like, okay, I don't have access to what the people know. So I kind of can't clear it up, because kind of don't know what it all is.
If you could clear something up right now, what would it be?
That I love.
So the reporter basically asked her the same question 2 different ways.
Everybody. That I'm here for a purpose. I think, God put me here in this jail, the worst jail in the country, they say, and I really can't argue it. But when I got here, the girls are like, did you know that you got brought to the worst jail in the country? And I was like, I can't argue that it's not. But he brought me here to help uplift and strengthen these women. And that's what I try to do every day. I talk.
So just like any prisoner, they find God. And that's her new path in life now. That's what happens. You get incarcerated and everything goes to Jesus, because you're going to have to answer to Jesus. So you better start worshiping him like you should have been doing before. But now she's going to use religion as a crutch to have something to hope for.
I'm a certified group fitness instructor, and I worked here at Fitness Works and taught aerobics. And so
Fitness Works, you got an employee. She's promoting your business.
I teach a workout to the girls every day. We laugh together, we cry together, we pray together. We're all in our separate cells. We're in there 23 hours a day. So we just talk to each other through the cell doors, right? Like each of us get out an hour a day and we can talk to each other through the door. We have to take our shower and whatever. But this jail, some days you'll be in your cell for 3 days. They go on lockdown and you don't get out for 72 hours. You're just in your room. So I'm here to help strengthen these other women. Sometimes God needs somebody to go into the trenches. And I think he put me here for that purpose.
A follow-up question to what you said, that you love everybody. Does that include your children?
Absolutely. I love my children. I've always loved my children. There's never been a question.
Even being convicted of killing them?
Wrongly? Mm-hmm. Of course.
Do you plan to take the stand yourself in your own trial?
Haven't decided yet. Don't need to decide that. Legally, you don't have to decide. So
Place your bets. She will take the stand. Place your bets. Okay, so from what I understand, she is only going to answer the questions because she is acting as an attorney. The questions that she submits to be asked of her on the stand. So my prediction is she will go on the stand because she is a narcissist and she's not going to be able to help herself.
we're going to see how it goes.
And that would be a situation if you did decide where your investigator or somebody would ask the questions to you on the stand?
Yes.
Okay. That was my understanding too. I just want to make sure I was correct on that as well.
Well, my understanding is that the advisory council would have to do that. Yeah. But I would have to write the questions. They can't ask me anything that I don't.
And you have to pre-submit those. You can't just go up there and say what you want.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
How
That's
was-
my understanding.
Yeah, that was my
of the law.
understanding. It was my understanding as well. This is probably one of the more unprecedented situations. You were involved in choosing your own jury. As a non-attorney, what was that process like for you?
That was an interesting process. I mean,
So there is an article here about how how one of the alternate jurors said she was acting, that he said that she was feisty the first day. And that's kind of what the reporter said too in the beginning, that she watched Lori during some of these preliminary court hearings, and Lori was feisty with the judge. But then he said then this juror says the next day she kind of froze up. So I think she's kind of having a little bit of like reality, you know. She wants to be disassociated, but she probably realizes that this trial is not a game. But I just don't think she's taking it very seriously, because she's already been convicted. She's never getting out of jail. She knows that, and I think she's come to peace with it. But interesting that she was involved in the process to select her own jury, which is made up of 13 men and 3 women. There will be 1 camera allowed. From what I'm reading, it's just going to be far in the back. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see like close-up facial expressions or anything like that. So we'll see how it goes. They are going to start live streaming. This trial starts tomorrow at 10:30 in Arizona, and they're going to start live streaming pretty quickly after that, around 11 a.m. I will definitely be on. I may go live. Well, I probably will. I definitely want to see the opening statement. So let's take a guess what her opening statement will be. Like, put down in the comments, what do you think her opening statement is going to be? I think she's going to say that, she didn't actually shoot the gun. So how could she be convicted of murdering her husband?
it went way better than I thought it was going to go. The process in Idaho is so different. It was interesting for me because it was so different, and I have had that experience, so I was like, I kind of know what's going to happen here. But every state is different, right? Every county is different. Everyone's going to have their own rules of how they did it. I have to say that I was pleasantly surprised that the judge was very fair in doing the jury selection in some ways. So I think it went really well. It went really fast. I didn't expect that. I thought it would take a long time. So I feel like it went as well as it could go.
Are you nervous for Monday?
See how it goes. I try not to get nervous about things and go with the flow as much as possible. It's not just Monday. It's like it's every day. It's going to be day after day. So I got to kind of pace myself and just do the best that I can.
Do you believe you can convince this jury, to find you not guilty?
I don't think I'm there to convince anybody. I think I'm there to just tell the truth.
Wouldn't that be your goal, though, as your defense attorney, to be found not guilty?
I think that's a goal. Yeah, that's the goal of everybody. But I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm defending myself against being wrongfully accused. So,
Wrongfully accused of Charles' death as well?
absolutely.
What do you want the jury to take away from you during this trial?
I don't know that they can take anything away. I mean, I don't really have an answer for that. I haven't really thought about it from that perspective.
Are you prepared for a life behind bars?
Sure.
How? What do you do to prepare that
She
to
doesn't
be the
come to
rest of
peace
your
with
life?
that.
My life is mostly over because I'm 51 years old.
Some say
I'm
you've
a
got a lot of
mother
years
and a
ahead.
grandmother and all those things. I've had a wonderful life. I did have a wonderful life for a long time. So it's just a different life, in my faith, we're called on missions to go do things,
Don't say you're doing this for God now. Oh my gosh. You're doing this for yourself. You have no other choice. You know you're not getting out. So, well, I guess we'll give you some credit to trying to provide some sort of positivity while you're in there. But after this case is over, we're going to forget about you. And that's the sad thing. We're not going to forget about your kids, but we'll see. I mean, hopefully you enlighten some of the women's lives that you're surrounded with, but other than that, like, you deserve to be locked up. You don't deserve to get out, in my opinion. There's too much death that happened around you, and you coerced many, many people into doing things for you that now you have to answer for. So don't bring God into this. This is no mission. If you want to change your life now, fine, but you're definitely not doing this mission for him.
And I've had this kind of scenario in my mind that I was like, if, my bishop called me in and said, we have this really hard calling for you. It's going to be for the rest of your life.
That's not what happened, though. The courts called you in to serve your life sentence, okay? They're quite different.
And you're going to go into this prison and where all these women are, and you're going to help and uplift and strengthen women and give them faith and help them carry on and do these things and help them get ready for when they get out of prison. But you're going to be there all the time, and you're going to be there for the rest of your life. Will you accept this calling?
Would you say yes?
Absolutely.
So you feel
Okay, because that's her doomsday theory part of her brain talking.
this is kind of a newfound purpose with the situation you're in.
Absolutely.
What do you want to impress upon people that have followed you and your case for years? Like right now, we've got a few minutes left. I want to know, what should the public know about Lori that they don't know?
That I am a Christian person, that I love the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and that I'm here on earth to do whatever he needs me to do.
I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I will see you in the courtroom on Monday.
Okay, so the other interesting thing is the jurors that were selected say they don't know anything about this case. They apparently don't watch the news. And also, they are not aware that she unalived her 2 kids. So she could plead her case and have a mistrial or be found guilty. That's a possibility. But that's not going to change her circumstances. She's still not going to get out of jail. So at least she'll get something accomplished, and she won't have to get up at 3 in the morning every day, like she just said, and she can finally find her forever home. But let me know if you guys are going to be following along this trial. Let me know what other trials you guys want me to follow. Please subscribe, like, comment, share. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think your opening statement will be? And do you think that she will take the stand for the trial? I say yes. What do you say? And I'm your girl, Angie Smalls. I'll see you guys in the next one.